Hey everybody, this is Mike with On Point Preparedness. Hope you're all having a good day. This is going to be a sort of interesting episode because we're going to talk all about vaccines. Vaccines seem to be one of the hottest topics on the intranets, in addition to things that we cannot speak about on YouTube anymore because they're going to be censoring things. So I'm not going to talk about the ELE, LX, you know what I'm talking about. Anywho, vaccines, which is probably going to be censored as well. There is a lot of chatter about this. We've been talking about Mark of the Beast. Is it a vaccine? It is definitely not. I've talked about how that is rooted in Gnosticism. But I entitled this video, I have never seen this happen with a vaccine before. Now, people that aren't subscribed to this channel and come in through here via the browse features or things like that, they're probably thinking that, oh, Mike's going to talk about luciferase or the quantum dot or hydrogel or any multitudes of these things, and it's definitely the mark of the beast. It's definitely not, okay? And a lot of people are going to come in with straw man arguments because I rebuke or I provide rebuttal against those things. And I have a history on this channel for being an advocate for people to be pro-choice about vaccine. I've talked about the dangers of aluminum adjuvants. I've watched all the Vaxxed series. I've seen all the testimonies of people getting hurt. I personally don't do that, in terms of shots. I don't vaccinate. What else? I'm aware of all the multitudes of things that cover up a lot of the side effects of vaccines. I'm aware of the secret vaccine courts that pay off people that are legitimately injured by vaccines and that you cannot sue the vaccine maker. Again, these secret courts. There's also some databases as well where you sort of just, if you have an adverse event, they just go into these sort of black hole systems. Again, I am aware of all these things. And from a physical point of view, I do agree that vaccines can be dangerous. And you need to weigh, pros versus cons of things. Especially, I've been very vocal about these vaccines regarding COVID that are coming out because they've been jammed through the pipeline in under a year. So it's makes you a little bit worried in terms of its safety and efficacy and all that profile. But even though there are a lot of things about this vaccine that we have to express hesitancy on regarding physical effects, we have to separate ourselves from the spiritual. There are so many people getting looped in to this vaccine is the mark of the beast. It's going to change your DNA. You're going to be a chimera, basically. There's a lot of these videos out there that show these twisted, mutated creatures and say, that's what's going to happen to you. Listen, I'm not debating that there might be some really adverse health effects because, as I'll show you, there are, and I'm not suggesting anyone get this. I'm saying, you know what? I'm definitely not going to be in line at all for it. And if they mandate it, I think it's a perfectly okay response to flee from that. I don't think that is rebellion. However, I want to look at this from a slightly different perspective, okay? I have been talking on this channel about how there's a purposeful exposure of the NWO. Some people are even starting to recognize it now. They're saying the NWO has showed their hand too much. They're getting greedy and they just showed their hand too much, and now the world is catching on. They're waking up, right? But in reality, this is the purposeful exposure of the NWO so that the populace can rise up, that there would be chaos, and out of that would come order into a new type of beast system that is not the one where people are enslaved and the world is enslaved and put in camps and all that stuff, but it's going to be utopia. It's going to be something that appeases the people. They're definitely going to go after Christians and try to put you in camps and do all sorts of things to you, but to the world, the beast system is really going to be the opposite. It's going to be something that is cherished. And so I really do believe at this point that vaccines are starting to sort of fit this narrative, that they are pushing them so hard and trying to do this overwhelming mandate that the populace is just not going to have it, and this is feeding into rebellion. I'm going to show you why. Again, remember the title of this video. I have never seen this happen with vaccines before. If you've been an advocate for vaccine choice, you will likely agree that this has never really been seen before in terms of vaccine history. So what exactly am I talking about? Let's go on over here to the screen share, and I'm going to share with you, I got about 8 links here. 8 links. Things that I've never seen before in the history of vaccine news, so to say. All right, let's just make sure. I'm going to pull my window down here so you can see the titles. But I had mentioned this a little bit in some prior videos several weeks ago. We're going to go chronologically through some of these articles. And mind you, I'm purposefully using mainstream media. Okay? Huffington Post on October 12th, 2020. Johnson & Johnson halts the trials after mystery illness. Well, that sounds bad. Mystery illness. What is that mystery illness? Well, they go through the details here about how we're committed to providing health and safety, yada, yada, yada. But British drug maker AstraZeneca last month temporarily stopped tests of its vaccine candidate after a trial participant fell ill, again with some type of mystery illness. Okay, now why is this significant to me? And you'll see through the rest of these articles, all on mainstream media. Vaccines have always been hush-hush in terms of any adverse reaction. As I started in this whole monologue, secret vaccine courts, injuries have always been hush-hush. You can't sue the makers. It's always been pushed down to where no one has really ever heard about it. You had to go to the niche ends of the internet on natural health news and a lot of the lower tier websites. Not even really the mid-tier would be covering these things, like the lower tier truther sites, to really get some of the testimonies of people getting hurt or injured from vaccines. But for some reason we're being deluged with mainstream media articles about how bad these vaccines are. I have never seen that before in the history of vaccines. Now, maybe with maybe I need to be not so dogmatic, right? There are some vaccines where the health profile or the safety profile of it actually did cause damage, and some countries pulled it from their markets. So there are some out there, but the main thing is it's been rare. And even when these vaccine makers had to pull their things from the shelf, I don't have the actual vaccines on the top of my head, which ones got pulled and in what countries. But again, you don't hear that really on mainstream media, or if you do hear it, it's just like a one and done, in and out. Again, those of you who are vaccine pro-choice advocates, you'll know that it's all hush hush. But here we have them publicizing, and again with very ominous headlines, mystery illness. Well, that's certainly going to encourage public support. Let's look at another one. Again, going in chronological order here. Wednesday, October 21st, 2020. Coronavirus vaccine volunteer in Brazil's AstraZeneca trial dies. But authorities say trial to continue. Yay for public support. Did I highlight anything in here? No, I really don't need to highlight anything here because someone died. And this is on CNN Health, mainstream media. Next article. November 23rd, 2020. Doctors say CDC should warn people about the side effects from the COVID vaccine shots and that they won't be a walk in the park. Okay. The CDC must be transparent about the side effects people may experience after getting their first shot of a coronavirus vaccine. Doctors urged during a meeting Monday with CDC advisors. Dr. Sandra Freihofer said that both Pfizer's and Moderna's COVID-19 vaccine requires 2 doses, and she worries whether her patients will come back for the second dose because of potentially unpleasant side effects after the first shot. Both companies acknowledge that their vaccines would induce side effects that are similar to symptoms associated with mild COVID-19, such as muscle pain, chills, and headache. But if you actually go down through the article here, do I have it in this one? Or it might be the next one. I think it's the next one. But still, this one paired up with, let's see, this one right here. The FDA says Pfizer's COVID vaccine is safe and effective, but trial participants warn of intense symptoms after the second shot. Here's the part that I wanted to highlight. Many people are now wondering whether this will be just like getting the flu vaccine. The short answer is no, not really. One Pfizer trial participant told CNBC, again, mainstream media, that after the second shot, he woke up with chills, shaking so hard that he cracked a tooth. It even hurt just to lay in my bed sheets on the second shot. So again, that's CNBC. This is also CNBC. So November 23rd, 2020 was that one. December 8th, 2020 is this one. They both go hand in hand. It's not going to be a walk in the park, folks. It is going to hurt. It's going to be bad. Mainstream media is telling you this. Let's look at another one here. This one, date. I don't know where the date is, but it's recent. New York Times. Blunders eroded U.S. confidence in early vaccine frontrunner. So again, this is all about AstraZeneca. Here we go. December 8th. AstraZeneca representatives neglected to mention a crucial development. 2 days earlier, the company had quietly halted trials of its vaccine around the world, including a late-stage study in the United States. It acted after a participant in Britain fell ill. I got maybe one more. Yeah. This one. So again, there was this really viral video of a military general saying, oh, we're going to vaccinate the entire country within 24 hours. Within 24 hours, we're going to get everyone. It's pretty creepy, I'm not going to lie. But that's what they said. But then behind the scenes, you see things like this. The Pfizer vaccine actually has, I believe it's the Pfizer one, that has to be frozen at very low temperatures. And so you start to get into supply chain management issues where it's just really not feasible. And so here, the feds passed up a chance to lock in more vaccine doses. The Trump administration opted last summer not to lock in a chance to buy millions of additional doses of one of the leading coronavirus vaccine contenders, a decision that could delay the delivery of the second batch of doses until the manufacturer fulfills other international contracts. And so even this one started putting a little loophole in this thing that maybe they're really not going to force this all on everyone in 24 hours like they said that they were going to do. And so, again, being a little bit redundant here, I entitled this video, I have never seen this before with vaccines or in the history of vaccines, that almost every mainstream media source, Huffington Post, CNN Health, CNBC, New York Times, well, this one's local, Star Tribune. I could probably find articles on Fox News, definitely on RT, a whole bunch of other ones. You have to question. For the longest time, those who were pro-choice about vaccines were just shunned to the corners of the earth and left in the shadows, and mainstream media never gave a lick about anyone that was hurt. Their testimonies, the whole Vax featured film was completely just pummeled to the ground in terms of, just being ridiculous quackery, science, and things like that. It was all suppressed. Meanwhile, lots of parents who, were about vaccine choice and they were trying to go on a reduced schedule for their children, or they didn't want to vaccinate at all. They were getting kicked out of pediatrician's office and everything. It was completely suppressed. I've lived this, okay? But for some reason, now everyone's talking about how bad the vaccine is. And not just from a strict medical point of view saying, oh, there might be some side effects that are strong. No, it's terminology such as mystery illness, that someone has died, that it's not going to be a walk in the park, that someone actually broke a tooth and it hurt just to lay in their bed sheets. Again, mainstream media is telling you this. And so for those of you who have been watching this channel for the past couple months, you will know and understand and discern that something's not right here. And it plays very much into what we've been talking about. the purposeful exposure of this deep state, a false apocalypse. The NWO is coming. They're going to enslave everyone. They're going to vaccinate with you, this thing with you that is going to change your DNA. It's the mark of the beast. It's going to send you to hell. They're going to raid your homes. And you know what? Some of this, it might come to fruition to a point. But I don't, its end goal can't possibly be that the public will surrender to that, okay? Like, let me show you some of these. I do want to show that I'm not ignorant to what's going on regarding, them trying to force things. So, take a look here. RT, New York lawmakers introduced bill to make the vaccine mandatory. And again, we see some of this in other countries and states that they are indeed trying to make it mandatory. But the whole point that I'm bringing up here is polls like these. Only half of American adults are wanting the pending vaccine, poll finds. Who is this? New York Post. Oh, great. Another mainstream media article just to dissuade the public from actually taking this. Oh, well, geez, if half the American public doesn't want to take it, maybe I should rethink this. There's another one. ABC News. Over half of NYC firefighters would refuse the COVID vaccine. Several weeks ago, I did a broadcast where I showed that in some areas of Canada, it was in the 90th percentile that people wanted to reject the vaccine. That they were saying, "Oh heck no, I'm not gonna take it." And likewise, when this was rolled out to hospitals or nursing homes, I think you're going to see people in the hospital settings and the healthcare settings, they're not going to immediately jump on this either. Some will, but a lot aren't. And so people have it in their mind that this beast system is going to come to fruition where everyone's going to lay down. Everyone's going to lay down and they're going to get their way and everyone's going to be vaccinated and all sorts of stuff. The reality is that we're seeing a purposeful cultivation of rebellion. That spiritually, the devil wants to infuriate people. He's infuriating people with the mask mandate. He's infuriating people with lockdowns. He's infuriating people with the hypocrisy of government leaders, putting these mandates on people but not following them themselves. And we see discord. We see tumultuous times all throughout this whole year. It's been cultivating and breeding this rebellion, and that's what the Bible talks about. It does talk about apostasy from the faith, but it says unless the apostasy or the great rebellion occurs, that has to come first before we get into the second coming of Christ. And we see, in fact, as it relates to the faith, lots and lots and lots of people forgetting about things of righteousness and going after the politics and going after Gnosticism in terms of saying that the vaccine really might be the mark of the beast. I've showed you lots of people that are starting to talk about that. And I'm not going to name names, but there are some very respectable pastors who that are online that are now actually starting to promote this mark of the beast vaccine thing. And again, they are elders. They have a good track record. And so scripture says that I am not to expose that. I'm to speak gently about it. But it's bad. It's getting bad. And it's because this whole thing is meant, this whole purposeful rebellion, this whole cultivation of anger and not wanting to be controlled and not wanting to put a mask on your face and all this stuff, it is breeding such intense human emotion that people can't help their flesh, and they're giving into this narrative. I've described this as a military flank, and you know what? What time are we at right now? We're at 19 minutes. I'll save it for another video. But on my Facebook page, if you haven't been on my Facebook page, it's On Point Preparedness on Facebook. I do a ton more updates on there than I do on YouTube. But I posted a little video on there where I showed the concept of a military flank, that the enemy is going to have their forces all nice and neat in a row, and your scouts can see them all up ahead, and you're like, oh, look, we know where they're at, we're going to hit them hard. And you just sort of, you got this skirmish line, and you go straight into each other. But little do you know, when your eyes are focused on the enemy straight in front of you, right out in the open, waving their flags, beating their drums, they've got a whole flank of people and artillery and tanks and all sorts of stuff coming around the hillside, and they're going to wipe you out. And that's exactly what's happening spiritually with this whole thing, in my opinion. That everyone, not everyone, but a lot of people, again, are getting emotionally charged, giving into the flesh, hyper-focusing on this problem of a deep state NWO cabal type thing that's going to enslave the world and chip you and vaccinate you and turn you into different creatures, that people don't understand that, or they've forgotten that Lucifer is an angel of light. And this all ties into everything that we've been seeing. All the false prophets, lots of people in the New Apostolic Reformation, all these folks, they are consistently talking about revival. There's going to be revival. It's going to be a great wave of revival. Donald Trump is going to be saved. He's going to be restored. We're going to get back to our constitutional roots on how this country was founded. All the New Agers are saying it's coming. In addition to all the Christians and the NAR, it's all about revival. And what does that mean to me? It means that all this stuff that we're looking at in the world scene that is very quickly losing public support, the masks, the vaccines, all this stuff, the lockdowns, when that's defeated, it's going to seem like revival. It's certainly going to seem like revival. It's going to say, we have fought back the forces of evil, and we have changed the tide, and it's going to be in our favor. That is where the real deception lies. That is definitively where the real deception lies. And you just have to follow the delusion, as I've mentioned in other videos. You have to follow the spiritual delusion. You have to be discerning. As it applies to the vaccine, as I've just showed you, I've just never seen this before. I have never seen this before, and its net result is this: that 50% or under are now saying, I don't want it. And when these mandates come in, oh, you better believe it, the people are going to rebel. You better believe it. It's sort of self-assured at this point. And so let me close with this. I've got 4 kids. They range from 7 years old to, I got a little 5-month-old baby now. And yeah, the thought of having mandated vaccines to me and my family, that was originally sort of scary. I mean, I think that's scary for anyone. Is it going to be where, you can't go to work, you can't shop, you can't, all this stuff. They may push those bills through and say, this is what we're going to do. But you have to see that if people aren't putting up with just a piece of cloth on their face, and again, it's sort of like a 50-50 split there as well, and people aren't tolerating the lockdowns, people most definitely at large are not going to be tolerated getting dragged out of their homes, told you can't do this or that. There's going to be a whole lot less public support than there is for just simply putting on a mask. And so while I was originally very concerned about the prospects of getting dragged out of your home or not being able to participate in society, seeing all these articles on mainstream media really bashing the vaccine and making it look terrible, I'm starting to think that this, again, is just another aspect of the purposeful rebellion, the order out of chaos. And I wish, I'd like to keep these live streams a little bit shorter. I wish I could talk at length for those of you that are new to the channel and may not quite understand what's happening here. But for those of you who have stuck with me for the past couple months, hopefully you're starting to discern the same things that I am. That this is just odd. It's weird, and you see what purpose it's serving. So, I'm not. I'm really not fearful about this, and I don't think you should be either. I don't think it's going to happen. Even if it does happen, as I've mentioned in the last video, this is just the flesh, and we are spiritual children. There is nothing that man can do to our bodies which would separate us from God. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. And so there definitely is, some things that are worrisome about this, and I'm not advocating people to just jump on the bandwagon and take it. I'm actually saying, if you're very concerned about it, as I am, and it comes to that point, flee. But it's only going to get to that point up to a certain amount, and the populace is going to revolt. And so I'm really not concerned about it. But even if you are concerned about it, and even if it pushes those boundaries a little bit to where certain states actually start to mandate it and things, this has nothing to do with salvation. It has absolutely nothing to do with salvation, and don't feed into that lie. It is just an utter lie from the devil, and he is cultivating this very deep emotional response to make you believe that. Can't take away your salvation through a prick in your arm. Can't. And the mark of the beast is supposed to be something on your right hand or forehead. Well, it's getting shot in your arm. So it's just, the scripture is not there. It doesn't support it either. It doesn't support it from just a logical point of view. It doesn't make sense from a scriptural point of view. There are physical concerns. Don't be concerned about the spiritual. So that's all I got for you guys today. Hope this was enlightening for you. Hopefully you start to see the overall plan and the overall design of what the enemy is doing here. I personally see it. That's my opinion. Maybe you don't agree, but that's okay. But anyways, keep your eyes peeled. Be discerning. Don't get emotionally charged and give into your flesh. It's this battle is probably going to get worse, and we just need to step back, be patient, which is a fruit of the Holy Spirit, and be as Bereans. That's all I got for you. This is Mike with On Point Preparedness. God bless everybody. I appreciate your prayers for me and my family. We're going through a very rough time right now, significant trials. So very appreciative of your prayers if you could do that for us. God bless you all. Keep the faith.